Frankie's up. He says, this may not be a typical hump day hangout question, but I would like to ask how do you guys balance having a relationship wife with a significant other and still be able to crank out 12 to 16-hour days without your significant other being upset and that you don't spend enough time with them? Frankie, that's not a question I can answer, because that is precisely why my wife left me. It's because work was always more important to me than she was. And she didn't like that too much. So honestly, I say that kind of tongue in cheek. There was some other reasons too, but that was one of the big ones. At the time, I was running a real estate business, and I worked 16 hours a day, and it was because I was trying to build something for us, right? But that wasn't. She didn't see it the same way. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to direct this question more to you, Marco, and to Adam, and even Hernan, because Hernan's got Yamila, his significant other. What do you guys do? You just don't work 16 hours a day, right?
Yeah, we should I just work 4 hours a day and then spend all the rest of the day with my, and I'm just kidding, but that's actually a great question, an amazing question, because this will come up. And I think that is some sort of agreement, right? And it comes both ways. I mean, the reality is that you're able to work 12, 14, 16 hours a day is because you're building a business, it's because you love what you do, right? And sometimes the other person is not as fortunate. So I do understand where's that coming from, but I think that both of you guys need to be on the same page. And this goes in terms of a lot of communication and a lot of talking and going through this. You need to be on the same page as to why you're doing what you're doing, right? I'm a big believer that you can make a living out of doing what you love. So that's why I'm actually, trying to coach my significant other on doing that, and stop like doing whatever she doesn't like doing. But so that she would understand it in terms of working 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And but I think it comes down to the agreement that you guys need to be on the same page as to, listen, when it's game time, right? Frank Sinatra didn't get a call in the middle of the stage because, his wife wanted to spend time with him. You know what I'm saying? When it's game time, it's 100% game time. Now, that said, there's also a need for you to unplug and spend some quality time. So that needs to be that needs to be on your plate. That's on your plate, not on the other person's. So that's my intake on it.
Who's next?
Well, I'll go. I think it's kind of interesting. Part of the reason I do what I do now is because I wanted to be able to have more time. I don't work 12 or 16-hour days. I don't like doing it. I worked as an engineer in my previous life, and so it's kind of interesting to me. And I think I can just say that what Hernan said is right. I think what he said, when it's game time, that your other half or whatever it is needs to recognize that that's it. But you also, it's on your plate as well to communicate that and to communicate it well. And to if you need that time or whatever it is you need, then it's on you to make that known. And that doesn't mean just saying, here's how it is, right? I think most people would agree that's not how a relationship works, but you've got to work that out ahead of time. You can't just expect it to happen and people to read your mind. And this isn't something I have figured out. Me and my wife work through it. There's times when, we've got to work together. We've got to do things. She's a freaking scientist. I mean, she has experiments she's got to run. She gets called up and, she's gone and I'm the one who has to adapt. So it goes both ways, and I think it's whatever works for you, Frankie. You've got to spend some time and you have to figure out what works for you. Is it investing your time now, 12 to 16 hours a day, and potentially losing out on some other areas? Because it's a trade-off. And if that's okay with you and the end result gets you what you want and your significant other's okay with it, then that's great. But, I think you need to figure out for yourself what that means.
Anybody else?
Go ahead.
Marco,
go ahead.
First.
Go ahead, Chris.
So, in my opinion, you're not productive if you're working 10 to 12 hours a day anyways. So what I recommend to schedule in at least twice a week family time, or wife time, or sexual time, or whatever you want to call it, and roll it that way. Because that's what I'm doing as well here, when I'm traveling.
I'm going to agree with all three of you. I'm married. We've managed to make it work for over 11 years now. 3 kids. We have a brand new baby. Now I'm not working 16 hours anymore, but it would kill me if I were to do that right now. Although if I do go in the lab and have to work that I first go and I talk to my wife and I tell her exactly what it is that I'm going to do and approximately how long it's going to take. And for that amount of time, she understands that. She knows exactly what I do. She understands it. Again, Hernan said and Adam said, you communicate it. They have to understand that this isn't something that you can just in a couple hours, twice a week that you can knock out. You can go and walk a couple hours a day and lose a ton of weight. You can't do that on the web. 12 to 16 hours, talk to her. And then what you're going to have to do, so if you're going to work that much, is when the weekend comes, the weekend is hers, man. It can't be you and your buddies and her. It can't be you doing the stuff that you do and at some point her. The weekends, when you're off, it has to be all about her. You guys know, like you hardly ever see me on weekends. I sometimes come in and I comment, but that's because maybe nobody's around. I'm doing something else, but I'm dedicated to my wife and kids when I'm off. And I think that if you do that, and if she sees that interest and that kind of commitment to both your job, because this is how it's going to work. She's going to see you totally committed to your work and wonder if you're not totally committed to her, why? But if you can show total commitment to both, and like when you're at work, it's total commitment. When you're with her, it's total commitment. I guarantee you that it'll work. And if it isn't working, then maybe you're with the wrong person, dude. You need to find someone that understands how this works, and both of you can then work towards growing that business. Because at the end, when I go in the lab and I work Saturdays and I work those 12, 14, 16-hour days, at the end of all that, then we go away 4 or 5 days and it's a nice resort, and we spend just all of that time together, family, and we have fun and we do things together. So the payoff is that when that time comes for me not to work that much, it's them. It's not going to be about me. It's not going to be about work. It's not going to be about my friends or anything else except family and the relationship, and working to build the relationship even stronger. I love this question, Frankie. I think this is a fabulous question.
Let's give Frankie a prize on that one. Seriously, guys, because that is a great question, and I can actually comment on that. I think Marco's answer was fabulous, by the way, and guys, that's why I posted this link here just a moment ago for the power of full engagement. Pick this up. Pick it up on audiobook, on Audible, or get the Kindle, guys. I'm telling you, read this. This is a great, great book. I listen to it on audio because I usually don't have a lot of time to read. But this really changed my mind about how to divide your time up. I used to work 16, and I'm not kidding. That's part of the reason my marriage fell apart, was because I worked so much and I didn't make time and fully commit time to my wife. When my fortunately my daughter, I have a daughter, and so I get her every other weekend. And on the weekends that I get my daughter, I made a commitment years ago when she was very little that I would completely unplug from work when I had her. I would do exactly what Marco said. I would fully commit my attention to her when I had her. And that's only because I only had her every other weekend, right? And then I get her on Wednesday evenings. Tonight's Wednesday, by the way. The only reason I'm not getting her is she's going out trick-or-treating. But I take her to dinner on Wednesday nights. Those times that I'm with her, I would completely commit to her because I didn't see her every night. In fact, I've always said I'm probably a better parent, a better father, because I don't have her. She doesn't live with me, because I do fully commit to her when I have her. Right. And so, but besides her, I would always work for 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. No kidding. I very rarely ever took time off for years, guys. I mean, in every business that I've been in, I've been like that. I'm a workaholic, right? I'm obsessive compulsive, and I know most entrepreneurs are, so it's not unique to me. But what I found, especially within like the last 6 months, is I'm doing exactly what Marco said. And this book right here, The Power of Full Engagement, was really the one that turned me on to this idea. And that's to unplug from your work sometimes, because when you do come back to your work, you'll be so much more productive if you give yourself some time. And the power of full engagement is all about if you can give yourself some R&R, some rest and relaxation time, and unplug really from whatever your main pursuit is in life, whether it's business or whatever it may be. If you can unplug from that and separate yourself from that, it will give you a renewed sense of energy for when you go back to it. And here's the thing, like when you unplug. Like, don't worry and stress about the stuff that needs to be done that you're going to have to handle in a couple of days when you go back to work or whatever. Fully commit to being unplugged, right? Live in the here and now, right? Like, and that's kind of a meditation thing, but live in the present moment and just enjoy that time, and don't allow that to, you know, the work that's coming in a couple of days to stress you out. And I know that's difficult, guys, but that's why I think this book was really good, because it helped me to start compartmentalizing my time in a better way. And so now, like, what, again, probably 6 or 8 months ago now, I started riding ATVs on weekends. I go camping on the weekends. I don't have my daughter. I'm usually out camping on an ATV trip, and I completely unplug. I literally turn my phone off or leave it in the truck for the entire weekend, because I don't want, it's, again, powerful engagement. I want to fully engage and enjoy my time, you know, riding ATVs and camping and hanging out with buddies, drinking beer around a campfire, that kind of stuff. I'd rather fully engage in that. And then when I come back to work, and we talked about this at POFU Live, but when I come back to work on Monday, like, I grind my ass off from Monday through Thursday. Like, I work super hard Monday through Thursday, fully focused. And then Fridays are usually lax days. You know, I do some work and that kind of stuff. But then Saturdays and Sundays, I'm completely unplugged. And what happens is I'm getting more done in 4 days because I'm fully engaged in Monday through Thursday. I'm getting more done in those 4 days than I would in 7 days months ago, because I was burned out. Does that make sense? So again, I think Marco's answer was brilliant. All of you guys had good answers, but I think Marco's was brilliant, because that's very much the power of full engagement. Fully engaged in whatever you're doing when you're doing it, right? Great answer. He should win something.
Yeah, let's get back to the important part, that Frankie's going to win something. So Frankie, hit us up at support. We want to hook you up with a t-shirt, and on, I think we all agreed. I had multiple of you guys messaging me. So we're also going to put a syndication network in there. So we're going to hook you up with a couple of things there. That's a great question.
Awesome. Well,
you know
done,
what?
Frankie.
Real quick, the last thing we didn't touch on with him is to consider Frankie, if you don't have a team, start investigating that. All right. And I'm not saying you need it or you have to reduce the time you're working, but if you're not building a team that can offload some of this stuff at some point, you need to really start doing that.
Yeah, because you'll be the bottleneck. You're going to reach a point, Frankie, where you cannot grow your business anymore if you're the only one doing it. So, and trust me, I've been there.